47 color discrepancies in a single sprint. Identical components look different depending on which team deployed last. The shared tailwind.config.js was supposed to be the source of truth, but teams forked it into local overrides and nobody noticed until QA flagged the mess. Let's break down Build Design Systems Shadkin Tailwind Radix, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Shadkin/UI is a collection of copy-paste-ready React components built on Radix UI primitives and styled with Tailwind CSS. Instead of importing a black box NPM package, you install components directly into your source tree. This gives you full ownership and eliminates the abstraction layer that causes token drift. Token drift is the silent erosion of design consistency when CSS custom properties are duplicated or overwritten across teams. With Shadkin/UI, tokens live in a single config file and are referenced by class name. Changes propagate instantly because there's no separate design token package to fall out of sync. The CLI copies component source code into your project. You own every line. There is no node modules dependency to update. You control when and how to incorporate upstream changes. The trade-off is maintenance burden, but for long-lived design systems, this trade-off favors absolute control. Here's how to install Shadkin/UI components. Run init to set up your project, then add individual components. They land in your components/UI directory. Use the diff command to see upstream changes before merging. Tokens live in CSS custom properties. Tailwind v4 uses at theme directives, v3 uses Tailwind, config.js. Both must reference the same variables. The key is to generate both from a single TypeScript source so they never diverge. This is the Tailwind v4 approach. The @theme block defines your design tokens as CSS custom properties. The @source directive tells Tailwind where to find component files. One variable change propagates to both Shadkin/UI internals and your utility classes. This is the single source of truth. A TypeScript object defines all tokens. A build script generates CSS custom properties, the @theme block, and TypeScript types. Never hand-edit HSL values in two places. Raw Shadkin/UI components are starting points. Extend them by keeping the Radix primitive, adding variant support with class variance authority, and exposing a clean API that communicates intent, not implementation. This extended button uses CVA to map semantic variants to Tailwind classes. Developers specify intent like variant equals destructive instead of raw classes. The API includes loading state, icons, and aschild for composition. Radix handles the hardest accessibility problems: focus trapping, keyboard navigation, ARIA attributes. Your job is to not break them through customization. Every change that touches focus, ARIA, or semantic HTML is a potential regression. This accessible form field component wires up labels, hints, and error messages with proper ARIA attributes. It uses ARIA_described_b and ARIA_invalid to connect the input with its error message. Theming must resolve before first paint to avoid flash of unstyled content. A blocking script in the head reads local storage and sets the theme class before React hydrates. NextThemes implements this pattern correctly for the app router. This blocking script runs before React hydrates. It reads the theme preference from local storage, resolves system to light or dark, and adds the class to the HTML element. This eliminates FOUC entirely. Documentation tells teams what to do. Lint rules prevent them from doing the wrong thing. Use slint plugin tailwinds to ban arbitrary color classes and restrict imports to design system wrappers. These EaseLint rules block direct imports from raw Shadkin/UI components and warn when developers use arbitrary Tailwind classes instead of design tokens. This forces teams through your design system's API surface. When Radix updates, your local component may break if token mappings don't match. Pin every Radix primitive version and validate token mappings in CI. A broken contract costs more than a failed build. This script validates that your token map contains all expected properties for a Radix component. If a Radix update adds a new prop, the build fails until you add the corresponding token. Unused variants bloat your bundle and create maintenance overhead. Run a coverage audit to find variants with 0 DOM references. Mark them deprecated, wait 2 sprints, then delete. This script scans your codebase for variant usage. It parses component config, searches for variant references in JSX/TSX files, and prints any variants that are never used. Run it weekly in CI. Atomic design maps directly to this stack. Atoms are your Shadkin components. Molecules combine atoms. Organisms are larger sections. The rule is rigid. Atoms never import molecules. Molecules never import organisms. This prevents circular dependencies. Here's a simple example. Badge is an atom. User badge composes badge into a molecule. User list composes user badge into an organism. Each layer only uses components from the layer below. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. Each team assumed the shared tailwind.config.js was the source of truth. But during urgent feature work, teams forked the config into local overrides. No linting enforced token compliance. CSS custom properties diverged silently because Tailwind compiles at build time, no runtime validation exists. Teams forked the shared Tailwind config.js into local overrides during urgent feature work, causing CSS custom properties to diverge silently because Tailwind compiles at build time with no runtime validation. The fix was to extract all design tokens into a dedicated NPM package at TheCodeForge Design We added a CI lint step that parses CSS variables and Tailwind theme, failing builds on drift. We also implemented visual regression testing with chromatic that catches pixel-level token mismatches. A team overrode the primary color in their local config. Without CI validation, this drifted silently. The fix is to enforce token consistency with a CI lint step. This bypasses your design system entirely. The developer communicates appearance, not intent. When tokens change, this button won't update. Always use semantic variants. Every variant you define is compiled into the bundle, even if never used. This adds unnecessary CSS and increases specificity conflicts. Run the dead variant detector and remove unused ones. If Radix v11 changes selects portal behavior and your token map doesn't include the new props, this validator catches it. Without it, your dropdown would render outside the intended stacking context. Add a CI step that parses globals, CSS and Tailwind, config.js, or at theme block to ensure CSS custom properties and Tailwind theme values match exactly. This prevents silent token drift across teams. Since Shadkin/UI copies source code, Radix primitives are installed as npm dependencies. Pin their versions in package.json to avoid breaking changes. Use npx Shadkin at latest diff in CI to detect upstream changes before they cause issues. Automated A11Y checks, ACScore, catch % of WCAG violations. Supplement with quarterly manual keyboard-only audits. Test focus management after any customization of Radix primitives, especially for modals and dropdowns. When components misbehave, start by checking Tailwind's content paths. In v4, verify at source directives. In v3, check the content array. Use the CLI to test CSS output. Diff components against upstream to catch breaking changes. Let's run through some common interview questions. How does Shadkin/UI differ from Material UI? Shadkin/UI copies source code. You own every line. Material UI is an NPM package with a theme API. Why must CSS variables and Tailwind config sync? Components use HSL, var primary, while custom code uses BG primary. Mismatch causes visual inconsistency. What does Radix handle for accessibility? Focus trapping, keyboard navigation, ARIA attributes. Developers must maintain focus indicators and contrast ratios. And a few frequently asked questions. Can I use Shadkin/UI with Vue? Shadkin/UI is React only, but community ports exist for Svelte and Vue. How do I update Shadkin/UI components? Run npx Shadkin at latest diff to see changes, then merge manually. Should I modify shadkin/UI source or re-export? Modify in place. Re-exporting adds unnecessary abstraction. Let's recap the key takeaways. Own your components, don't treat as black box. Synchronize CSS variables and tailwind config. Enforce with lint rules, not just docs. Run npx shadkin at latest diff in CI. Ready to go deeper? Up next, introduction to JavaScript, then variables in JavaScript, then data types in JavaScript, and operators in JavaScript. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.